I know my mic is hot. You can hear that, right? Good morning, everyone. This is the place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And today we're going to be talking with Coach Caren. But before we introduce her, I want to introduce you to my co-host, Ms. Francine Gregory, real estate entrepreneur and tech diva. I'm Carolina from California Cover-Ups, and our guest host today is Ms. Caren Fern, all the way from Toronto, Canada. She is our money mindset coach. She's going to help you get your honor girl hustle on, girl. And today we're going to be talking about the what are those chronicles?
The Hustle Chronicles.
Hustle Chronicles, girl. Now we had a couple of chronicles, so if you haven't heard the initial ones, you might want to watch the replays, guys, and check out all of these wonderful examples of how to get your business together. So, Caren, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
I am fabulous.
Me too. I'm just really feeling it. And today, it's kind of cloudy here. How's the weather in Canada?
You know, the sun is out. It was cloudy earlier this morning, but the sun is out. So it's a good day. It's supposed to be pretty warm. It's been warm since Monday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well,
you're doing good. You're doing good.
My thing is every day is a good day. And
every day.
California, we've been needing rain, so we're really excited, right, Fred? we got our little sprinkle, unlike the East Coast, which got a deluge of water.
Okay.
But we're moving forward because each one we get to see, it's a good one.
It's a great day. I used to have that on my answering machine. I went to the seminar, I was so pumped, and I just came home and I put it. But you pick up the economy, you hear every day above ground is a great day.
Exactly. There you go. Every day we get to see some good one. So, what have you got in store for us today?
Okay, so as Terry said, we did some Hustle Chronicles. We talk about Jenny's story, and we talk about Anna's journey. And today, I always drop mine in little tidbits, but today we're going to dive in a little bit on me. And today is the smack in the middle of the month, Wednesday, and we got 2 more to go. So I'm plugging me in the middle because it's so relatable to what happened before and what's coming next. So that's why I slapped me in the middle there so that I can tell you a little bit about me and my journey and how it really, affected me as a woman, as a wife, as a mom, and all these other roles that I have to play. And our journey really, really and truly bring us to the moment you're in at this time. Mm-hmm. Some it seems like you didn't have a choice in, and some were choices that you might not even realize you were making. But all in all, it brings you to this place where you are now. So today on the Hustle Chronicles, you can get a little taste of Karen's journey. All right? And I'm going to take you from the beginning stages just to understand my destiny, my passion, my purpose in this world. And my early beginnings, it was a little sad. It was really a little sad when you think about it. Sickness, I feel like, I always say sickness brought me to where I'm at, close to dying brought me to where I'm at. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about being close to death. And that's how we connected, having given up with whatever was wrong with the person. And in my case, I had tetanus and tinnitus. It's something that's not really researched or looked upon much, but it happens to a lot of women, a lot of kids. And usually it's because they're dead, so you hear nothing about it. Or if they live, they end up with brain damage, nerve problems. They're not functioning, but it's not one of those things that you just pick up and get. It's usually because you get stick by something rusty, or you got a cut and it got infected and it gone really far before they realize what happened to you. In my case, I fell and hit my feet, cut my feet. And my mom didn't realize I had a tetanus injection just months previously, so they gave me another one. And the two together was deadly and start forming inflammation and start killing me slowly from my toes up. But we didn't know this was happening, so I went along with my regular life and as a kid enjoying and playing around. But I started noticing a lot of things I couldn't do. I got numb. I couldn't move parts of my body. But it always seemed like a lie because I would look good and these things would happen. And by the time I tell you, you can't see it. So as a parent, my mom probably struggled trying to figure out what to do about, that sort of thing. And I literally was so in touch with me that I didn't know I was in touch with me. Let me just give that up right away. It's not that I knew it, but my brain knew it. So I started knowing that I was leaving. I feel like I'm moving on from where I'm at. That was the only way to explain it. And I would sit her down and say to her, I'm dying. And, she's like, everybody's going to die, because she couldn't understand that I'm talking about the present. And that must have been hard for a mom to hear, because I'm a mom, and that's not an easy thing to be told.
Yes.
And so eventually she took me to the doctor. She said, well, if you're dying, then let's go find out. And I got there, and the doctor said nothing's wrong with me. I just wanted attention, because he couldn't see anything. Because it's more, and it's years ago too. So medicine was not like this now. And, eventually one day I said to her, I was in the school and I was standing at a pipe and I couldn't move, and the lineup was forever. Because in the West Indies, you stand up, you line up. In South America, you're waiting to drink water. That's how it is at school. You're in this lineup forever. And it's not because I lean over, but I couldn't get myself back. And a big lady in the schoolyard saw me and bring me up and asked me what happened. I told her, I said, it's been happening. She said, how long? I said, this is about 3 months, but this is probably the last month. And she said, are you crazy? Why you didn't tell your mom? So I told my mom again. And, it's within a week, I was closer than I thought than it started out being. And I said to her, could I just stay home today? Because I told myself that week, I said, if I'm going to die, could I just do it in my bed? I didn't want it to be on the bus or at school. And so she said, yes, I could take the day off. And I lie in the bed. I got up the morning. I asked, I went back to sleep, and I got woken up. And as I got off the bed, I fell, and a cousin collected me. So I didn't hit the ground. And when my cousin collected me, she just screamed. I was present, but not present. And she literally said I was so cold that she couldn't understand that I was still alive. That's how cold she felt me. And, they picked me up and they were running. I was present, but not feeling. I know what was happening, but I wasn't there while it happened, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I got, the ambulance came. They were running with me by the time the ambulance came. And they couldn't get me wrapped up because I started to die from the feet. So I was so stiff that I remember the ambulance driving with me with my leg out, because it wasn't one of the big ones, it was one of the small ones that came. Because I guess whoever on the phone said it was a little child. And so we had different sizes ambulance. And I got to the hospital and they screened me off. And I hear the doctor telling my mom, this child wasn't here in 15 minutes, she'd be dead. But you can't come and see her because we don't know what to do. Literally, we don't know what to do. We have to figure this out. And my mom now is outside crying, and cousins and everybody's there. And I'm wanting to tell them it's going to be okay, but I couldn't say anything because by then my jaws are locked. I couldn't talk. I'm just blurry. And I literally probably passed out. Years later, I really realized that I was watching what was happening to me, but didn't understand that's what I was doing. So every needle, every injection that he gave me, I think within the space of 2 weeks, I had gotten 64 injections just because they were trying to extract. So the insulin was in my arm, in my leg, the saline was going in, and they were just injecting. But what I cannot tell you. But I had the sense that I wasn't ready yet to leave once I got to the hospital.
Mm.
I just had this sense of I'm going to be better. And, it took months. I was in there for months, probably close to a year in the hospital, because by the time they were able to figure out what went wrong and how they can help me, I'd lost my speech by then. I'd lost my sight by then. And I definitely couldn't walk. So once they were able to help me, then I went into the phase where therapy, as I know it now, that's what it was. I didn't know what it was, where I had a nurse that came in 3 to 4 times a day. She and another one, they would literally just pick me up off the bed and hold me side by side to have me walk, but I couldn't move. So they had put me in these braces, and somebody would be moving my feet and moving my arms just to tell it what to do, because my brain didn't know what to do with it. And then we had somebody came in for the speech, and the same scenario. Everything looked like jumble. It looked like you're writing backwards. So when I start seeing, as I was told I couldn't see, but when I start seeing again, I literally didn't understand anything. So I had to start right over from my ABCs. I didn't know people's names, anything. But that ordeal of fighting for my life really was so significant, and that's why I'm talking about it today, because it led me into my destiny and purpose. So that when I think that was bad, and I think nothing more can happen to me, because I got better, I'm out of the hospital, I was around 8 plus, and this is the time where I felt nothing else can go wrong to me. I didn't know my mom was pregnant at the time, so she had a baby. So I come out of the hospital, there is a 3-month-old, and probably suffering from her daughter in the hospital for a year. I'm getting a baby, did something to her. I didn't understand. So it probably was depression. And so they had to take her away. So she went away with some cousins of mine, wherever they took her, and then out to the country eventually. Nobody tells me because I'm a child. This is just me gathering my stuff later. And she never really wants to talk about it, but I realized that she just couldn't be there with us at the time. So my grandmother stepped in to care for us. She had not raised my mom. She's never raised any children. And here she was saddled with 2 children. And she said yes, I think because she didn't know what else to say. But I think once we were placed with her, she just freaked out. So we got her. 2 months later, she moved us from where we was to where she think we should be, for whatever reason. And if I think dying was bad, I now get to understand living. And because before that, I had my mom, life might be rough, but nothing could have prepared me for it, because she was just such a nice lady. She's my grandmother. She was so nice when she was visiting. But the living with her was a total different story. So now we got her, and I didn't know these things. She couldn't comb hair, so she wasn't going to comb her hair. She sent us to get it done when the person wasn't very happy doing it, or she thought they weren't. She balled my head. That was phase 1. So within a month, I had no hair. I had my 3-month-old sister with me. And so that's how Jenny's story got included in this, because she watched me come in at a child that close to 9. And in spite of all what was happening, never really sat down and cried. Now I cried. She just never see me cry. I cried a lot because I felt so alone. That's true. I just felt alone. And, here I am feeling better, but wondering why God kept me, because I could have just died and not had to deal with this which is happening now. And so I cried a lot. I cried. I feel like there was no more curveballs that can come. And, within a month or so, having been involved, I kind of started just accepting this is where I'm at. One of the things I told myself, hair can grow back, so I'll be okay. And this is just a phase. And she's trying to get accustomed to the idea of kids. So it'll be okay. I didn't know that this was not going to be okay. So 2 weeks later, I got bald again. And every 2 weeks, I went to the barber and I got bald again. And it's just hair, but it was very hurtful. I wasn't a child with long hair, but at least my hair come up to my neck, and it was thick, and I think that was part of what I feel made my face who I was. So I kind of lose part of me not having any hair, I felt, you know. And so this is me, you know, without no hair. But I used to stick this bow in my head from when I had hair, and I would stick it in. So if the hair grew back a little tiny bit, I'd be sticking it in, and I got a couple of them. So if any lost, I would have my bow in my hair, you know. And after a couple of months, I started resonating myself. This is where I am. This is nothing else I could do about it. And then I lost my bus tickets. And, you know, although the person stole it, I took some of the blame because I guess I was so into myself and all the stuff that was happening to me. And it was shame. And it was more than just it happening to me. It's my cousins knew what had happened to me. And the kids are cruel, right? So they'll tell you things about your mom that you don't want to hear. So it was just, I think I was just going through such a hard time that I wasn't paying attention to things. And I was really a good student all along. And I noticed that I wasn't doing as great in school. And I said to myself within that year that I am responsible for me, totally. And if I was, what would I do? Because if my mom was here, what would she do? I promised I wasn't going to cry. Sorry, guys. Okay. I was wondering what would she do, and I start focusing on what would she do, how would she help me, and how would I help me. And I went to a Methodist school, so I went to church every Wednesday, and I still went with my cousins for confirmation classes at the Catholic every Thursday afternoon, because those two things fill me up in ways I wasn't getting filled up otherwise. So at least I had a place, you know, to go to. And one of the things that I realized after I passed that grade was teachers were cool. I mean, we all thought they were terrible. But once you get to talking to a teacher about an issue, you realize that they would want the best for you. And so I started talking to teachers because I figured if I had a teacher that said, if you are educated, you could do anything, you know, and I believed her. So I started putting my energy into my schooling, my schoolwork, anything I can do. And to keep my grades up, because I had nobody to appear at school on my behalf. That was out of the question. That was gone. And so how would I keep myself really well so that there's no need to send for my parent because there's none to come and still do well? And so when I lost my tickets, I was devastated. But I realized and I recognized, and to this day I say, because I lost my tickets, that's where I am today. Because I took a stand for myself. I reached out to all the people I thought at the time I needed to reach out to, which was my teachers, the pastor that pastor us on Wednesdays, and most importantly, the lady that was the caretaker for the church, because she was the caretaker for the church, but she was also the caretaker for our school. And we became close because I would go to school so early that, you know, she started talking to me because I'll sometimes meet her there still cleaning and whatnot. And we become close. She'd even given me a key. She said, when you come in the mornings, you can open and go right in if I'm not here. Because once I got there early, I could do things I didn't get to do at home. That helped me. So I was lost. I didn't know what to do with myself. And I told her, and she said, you know, you could pray about it. And I kept walking and talking to myself. And that's why to this day, I tell people, you need to talk to you. Because when you talk to you, you rarely get answers. This is like, if nothing more, you get answers when you speak to you. And I would walk and talk to myself. Because I was at my 3rd month with a bald head. The tickets were lost. And the new thing was going to enter into my life was I need to care for this 3-month-old because she needed care. That's all there is to say. She needed the care. And my grandmother's job takes her away, sometimes at 5 in the morning. And so we were left alone. And we got up at 5. And I had to get her to the babysitter, which was Jenny upstairs. But later, if you remember Jenny's story, she wasn't there. This was just a temporary stay. And then she got into a daycare, which means I need to ship her and travel with her to the daycare. And it was a good distance. And out of my way from school. So it's to take her there and then go to school. So we had to get up at 5 in the morning so that we can leave at 6. Because I never wanted to take a chance with a baby not cooperating. Because babies, I mean, I didn't know that babies didn't cooperate. I just assumed she would. I really didn't know. But I just assumed she would. But of course, there's days she wouldn't because, of course, teething and all those other things that happens, you know, that you don't know. At least I didn't know. I was 9. What do I know about caring for a kid? So, you know, and some days she just won't cooperate or she'll have, because she's teething, she'll have the running. So you'll change one diaper and change another diaper before we get out to the door. And one of the things I pride myself on is that I would be never late for school. I would never not hand in an assignment. I would never let the conditions of where I live stop me from moving forward. So I committed those to me. And because I committed those to me, I had to follow through with it. And the other day I wrote it, and being accountable to yourself, it really makes you be a better person to you and then to the people you serve. All right, I'm done crying. You know, when you think things are so bad and you have it really bad, there's always somebody that have it worse than you. And when before Jenny entered my life, there was a friend of mine next door that had it worse than me. And we started talking only because she lost her mom and really lost her mom because she died. And I lost my mom because she just wasn't there. And we had bonded that way. And she was my first client. I'm going to pause because sometimes when you're in hurt, when you're in pain, when you don't know what else to do, it's easy to just give away what God presents in front of you to use as a business. And my business was an orange. You know, he presented it because I've been praying and asking for it. And when it presented itself, it was one of those things that was hard. I'm not going to sit here and lie. For me to sell her the fag of orange because we've been close. We've been talking about all these hardships. But there was something that came over me when she asked for the 3rd fag that allowed me to say to her, you're going to have to buy if you need any more. Now, part of it was jokingly, but part of it was like, this is a way to earn a living because I am responsible for me. Now, I'm sure she's paying rent, so that's taken care of. But beside that, there's nothing else. Beside that and school clothes, I've realized there's nothing else I was going to get. I had a pantsuit, I think, and a dress, and 2 other house clothes, but nothing else I got. And so that's why Cinderella's story is so important to me. But, you know, and so she bought from me. And once she bought from me, the next time she bought from me quite a few times before I told anybody else. And she told other people also, you know, that I'm selling fruit. And I guess it's just fascination. People came to see why I'm selling fruit because nobody knows your story. And I'm not going to sit there and tell them what happened to me. So they started buying from me. And they continue to buy from me. And I decided after noticing that if I sell the orange, I would make 12, you know, the 60 cents from the orange, selling them 5 cents per bag, and getting to the market and realizing that if I bought a parcel of oranges, I could make money off of it. That was my focus. And any fruit that didn't yield the same amount or beyond, I wouldn't sell that fruit. Yeah, it made no sense to me. But I also one of the things that dawned on me within a month, I did buy tickets, by the way, but I didn't use it. I sold it.
You bought bus tickets?
I bought bus tickets, but I didn't use it. Okay. Because I didn't use it right away, and I did. And when I did use it, like a couple weeks later, for about 3 days, I stopped. Because what was happening to me as I walk, I started acquiring a lot of knowledge just from walking. And it seems like such a simple thing. But every time I walk, it's almost like it was a walk with God, because I was learning and a lot of things were downloading in me. I didn't know what they were at the time and how I was going to use it. But I could almost feel and have these conversations. But if I'm on the bus with all these people, it just would never happen. And once I noticed it the first time, and I thought, the second, but the third time, it was so strong that I thought, I don't need to take a bus. I can walk. Now, as I said before, this walk was a 2.5-hour walk, including my sister to daycare. But what I've recognized over time, I had peeled it down to 2 hours and then to an hour and a half. So my speed was increasing, and so was my knowledge. Because I would get to school called at 8 o'clock, but I'll be in school by 7:30. And, I might have a spelling test. But because I'm working on that and my focus is straight, I'll be the top of the class. I'll get all my words right. We'll have a mental test and I'll be at the top of the class. I was at the top of the class because my focus was, I had 3 focus. I wanted to get out of the life I didn't know how I was going to do it. That was 1. 2, I had a child that now I got to raise, and nothing is going to change that. Because I have no contact at the time with my mom to know when she'll return. By the time I get contact with her, and it took, oh my God, nearly 2 years before I got in contact with her. Because what would happen is she would write me a letter, and I would write her a letter because I'd gotten her address. And my grandmother was intercede and not send a letter. And so she wouldn't hear from me. So I'd be writing, but I wouldn't get any response. So I just had stopped. And I started saying, okay, so this is what I need to do. These are the 3 things. I got to figure how I'm going to get out of this life. I've got a kid to raise, and I better do good in school because that's going to get me out of the life. So the straight focus was that. And it has moved itself throughout my life in terms of when I'm in turmoil, I can find this peace within me to go and focus on what needs to be focused on. Even if it feels like hard and nothing is happening, even if I don't see results, I have the faith to know that I am going to get results from it because he said that I'm going to get results from it. I've had this feeling, so obviously it's downloaded in me that this is going to win. I am going to move forward. And people are really compassionate, even if you don't tell them everything. If you're willing to open up some parts of you, people will step in and help you. And I didn't do this alone. I had lots of help. I had a lady who we rented a space from, which was just a kitchen. But because I was so diligent in what I did, she was very, very helpful to me in so many ways. Just words, I think just listening to me a lot, because I've always been a talker. And just listening to me and letting me know that, God don't give you more you can bear and that sort of thing. And it really made me find out what I was made of. It really made me find out at an early age, I get to know what my strengths are. Also what my weaknesses were, what I was longing for. And it was never a journal because I didn't know anything about journals, but I would just write it out at the back of my exercise books. Whatever I was feeling, once I wasn't speaking, I was writing it out. And I started finding my gifts and talents, I got a chance to skip grades in school. So while most of my peers were struggling along where they were, I get to skip a grade and then another grade. And I keep moving faster ahead and mixing with the older kids. In some respect was great, but some respects it wasn't great. But it allowed me to make choices even though I wanted to with them. I just didn't because I had a now a 1.5-year-old with me. So I can't make those choices. I can't go anywhere with them. I used to say sometimes she was my, guardian angel. She's the one that kept me out of so much trouble because I just couldn't do it. She was there with me. Everything I did, I had to consider how she fit into the picture. She had to be considered in everything I do because I was responsible for dropping her off and picking her up. And I had to get there on time because if she's late, A, going to cost my grandmother more money, and B, they're going to tell her, and C, I'm going to be in trouble for it. She could lose her space. I never wanted to be in trouble with her. So, having said all of that, that's what started off. So, this is my little drawing here.
Oh, good. You got another illustration.
Of her.
Your little sister.
Yes. And me, and it, made me find me and had me work on my strengths. And she was such a good child. I often say, she really doesn't give you more you can bear. She was such a good child. She was such a good child because by the time I realized what I wanted to do in life, which was dance and sing, I couldn't imagine on my own how I would accomplish this besides my selling and what have you. I'll get a return to that. But singing brought so much joy to me and dancing. And so I decided to sign myself up. And this part I'm going to give to my grandmother. She wouldn't be there present, but anything I wanted to do, maybe part of her felt guilty. She would just sign it off. I don't think she read most of it, but she would just sign it off and give it to me. And so I got to join the dance team. I get to join the choir. But, at some point she said to me, how are you going to fit all of this in? Because I'm still not going to be able to drop her off or pick her up. Just so we clear. You would like to do this and it's okay, but I'm not stepping in so you can do it. And I sat with it. And I went to my teachers again. And I always said there was such instrumental in my being. And I went to each teacher that I know I had. I said, I've got a problem. I've got a baby sister. And yes, I'm raising her. And I don't need your sympathy. I just need help. How, Caren? 3 days a week, I need to bring her to school with me. She has to sit in the class with me. If not, I can't come to school. And I know they thought I was crazy. And they sat with it. One teacher answered immediately. He said to me, if you can keep her quiet, I got no problem because I don't want to see you stop in school. But the other ladies, they didn't, because they have kids. So I guess they understand the interruption, right? He's a guy, I guess. He never had any kids. So he didn't know who could have it. So he was yay. And I would literally skip lunch. Took me an hour to go get her and come back. Half an hour to get her, that's a run walk. And a half an hour to get her back, that's another run walk. But by then we had a stroller. So we'll return back to school. And I wouldn't have enough time to eat. But if she could just be there with me, because dancing practice was in the afternoon from 3:30 to 5 sometime, or 3:30 to 4:30. I can take these classes. And for my singing class, I asked my singing teacher, could we practice in the mornings? And now this is asking a favor with 25 other people that needs to sing. It wasn't just for me, but I thought if you put it in my heart to ask, why not? She could only say no. And she didn't say no. She said yes. So I got to sing and I got to dance. And that brought me so much joy. I'm saying this part because I want people to know no matter what's going on, you need to find that joy, that happiness. When you are especially in such dire places, you need to find something that would light up your heart and make it work for you however you have to. And that's what it did, if nothing more. It's just allow what was happening to me. I had no control, first of all, over what was happening. But I still wanted to find this, because I was a happy child. And I was starting to lose my happiness, my joy, and just loving people. I was starting to lose it and be very angry and very short with people. I didn't like people anymore. They were just annoying to me. But I found once I started dancing and they started singing, I was able to allow that to just leave me. I had my moments, but the majority of time I was quite happy, And I said again, my teachers were so brave to me because to take her to the doctor, to take her to get her needles, any time that I needed to do that, I could ask for the time off. And so I had to tell them to get this because, again, she's just a baby, so she still needed her shots. She still needed everything that every other kid needed. And I was the one to take her to those appointments. So we had to do it. But I would keep up with my work so they would allow me to do it. And so these are my these are all the people who played such a great role in helping mold me and keep me on track and keep me from just going down. And lots of time just went into why did I not die scenario in my head. Story. Interruptions in our life, it's the same thing we talk about with the problems. Problems, we need to find ways to solve these problems. Now, I don't want you to go away with only thinking, and you listen to this either here or later, that is just sadness. It's not just sadness, but it's part of my sadness that brings me into light. And that makes me smile every day and happy to be alive because I don't have to visit that place anymore. And even if I'm going through anything sad, I question it. Is it as sad as those days when A, I'm a child, couldn't find a job, B, now I'm an adult, and if things didn't work out, I can still work. So I could never go back to that place unless I allow me. So whatever happens to me, I always say that I can't go back to that place ever again. I wouldn't allow Caren to visit there, regardless of what's happening. I just wouldn't, because it would be too painful to come back up and do it again. Once was enough. Once was enough. And if you're in pain, just know there's a light once you're willing to be disciplined enough, stay focused in whatever you do to grow. As I said, it allowed me to develop my gifts and my talents and skills because while I'm in school, of course, we had a class called Home Economics, and I developed the love of cooking food because I could only cook at that time from 9 to 11. I think the only thing I knew to cook was rice, cabbage, chicken stew, some other dishes awful. My poor sister. Not good food, but those are the foods I need to cook. Those are the food we ate. Because I was there most of the time. She worked early and she worked late. And later I realized it's probably an escape from us because she probably didn't know what to do. Also, it taught me money. It really taught me the discipline of money. Not because she gave it to me, but because I saw how she handled it.
So it taught you the discipline of money. Okay.
This part of our talk now is money. We're getting into the money stuff. It taught me the discipline of money. One day I got brave enough to ask her how much money she made per week because she worked so hard and so long. I thought she made a lot of money. She must be making a lot of money because she's never there. She never really did. And she probably did other things when she left work and didn't come straight home. I don't know. Stopped worrying about it. Realized it didn't do me any good, so I didn't. But she didn't make a lot of money. We didn't have credit card. We do now in Guyana at the time. But she would send me to the shop and with a list, and I would collect groceries. And then when she get paid, she would pay for it. Same credit idea, just not a credit card. What I found out was she's always a week behind because I was nosy. And I'd asked her, why would she want to be a week behind? Because a week behind costs her interest that the shop owner never told her about. So she was always paying interest. So she could never catch up. But she never knew this. And because I was doing most of the cooking, I started buying half of what we needed so that she can play catch up. But what I didn't understand is she never understood money. So even though I was giving her a break on this end, she was leaking it out on the other end.
I understand.
She never had to be accountable to anybody, even herself. So that's how she lived before. And the discipline for me about money was that if you don't give it a job, it goes right out of your hands. Really quickly. It goes out faster than you bring it in. matter of fact, if you don't have the discipline of money, and I give myself a job to do with money. I earned for the week, and I didn't spend anything to see what I would do with it and how it would make me feel. It was the first gift I give to myself. I kept the dollars, and I didn't spend anything. It didn't matter what I felt like, what I wanted to buy, what I wanted to get, I didn't. And although I made money, I never bought myself anything extra than the 4 dresses I had, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have anything but the 4 dresses. Mm-hmm. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I couldn't go anywhere. So it's not like I had any place to go besides school. So in my mind, I go to church in my uniform because it's a school and a church. So there was no need. And to get to the other church was my uniform because I couldn't go anywhere in the weekend. So it still was my uniform. So those were the discussion in my head why I didn't need to buy myself any other clothing. And so I noticed that once I held on to my dollars and I didn't spend it trivially, like buying crap at school. Every kid want to buy crap. And I was one of those kids, but I noticed the difference. Because I was falling into the pattern of her subconsciously, not consciously. But by the end of the week, I was as broke as she was, even though I was making money in my business. In my little business, I was making money. Yeah, I was making $20 a week. Now I'm no big money, but I was spending the $20. And then the people that sell in our schoolyard, because I was such a good customer, if I wanted to buy something that cost me more, they'll say, well, Karen, you can pay me on Monday. And I would say yes, and I would pay them on Monday. But because I wrote everything down, I went to Miss Eloise and I said, I owe you $3. She said, no, you owe me $3.50. And I said, how? But you bought it on Friday. There's a 50 cents for the weekend. And I didn't know that they do this.
Did they put a surcharge on it?
Yeah, I never knew. And it happened a couple of times. And I finally said to her, why? And she said, well, you didn't pay for the goods. And if you don't pay for the goods, when you do come to pay, there's a little something add on it. She never said interest. She just said a little something. And we started doing math, and we did get into that unit of interest. And that was the last 50 cents she got from me, I was willing to do it. And it really taught me this bit of money. So you buy, and when Friday comes, no matter how my whole inside wanted to eat that, I just watched it, and I swallowed, and I drank water, and I didn't buy it because I didn't have $3 to buy what it is I needed to buy. It was hard. It's not easy for a child to discipline themselves. It's not easy for an adult. I understand. I talk about these things because I know it's not an easy journey, but I know it gets you to a better place in the long run. And so I moved my business from just the fruit into, once I went to home ec, I started making the things and selling those things. So of course my weekly dollars raised, I got to $40, I got to $60, I got to $100 and something a week. And it was good. It was great. I put it into a savings account. I got it into a compound interest account. What that means is just whatever they tell you they're going to give you an interest, it gets compound over time. So if it's 3% or it's 5%, and they want you to save $2 or $3, nothing more. But in my case, I wanted to save more. Got me in a little bit of trouble because they weren't used to a kid having that kind of money. So my grandmother was called in, which again, she never paid attention to money. So she said, whatever she's making is because she's selling some foolishness. So it's her money. She wouldn't steal. She sells a lot of silly things. I don't know why she do it, but it's her money. An adult, so they listen. They allow me to save the money. And so I would save every week. And so compound interest work, like whatever they're giving you per month. So if you save, let's say you save $20 and that's a 5%. So whatever that 5% with the $20 is, you get it that month. So that compared with when you add another 20K, again, another 5%. So every month by the end of the year. So I graduated early from high school at 14 because I skipped a lot of grades. And for us, you can't get to university, you can't get to any college or anything before you're 18. So I had 4 years on my hand. And I also couldn't get to my money before I was 18.
Even though you put it in there.
Even though I put it in there. You can't touch it. The hard part was I never told anybody about this savings because my mom had came back by then. Life really wasn't good with her. And my business turned into her business and to her money to sustain us. When they realized that this business really made money and could do all the things that they went out and get a job and do, that was the end of me and my money. Because now it's paying rent. It's paying for everything. The gravy train stopped. And so I was afraid to tell them that I had money in the bank because they hadn't had the discipline of me. I'm saying this to say, I'm not saying anything bad about my family. I'm just saying that they didn't have the discipline of money. And I tell you my story so you know that this is not because it's just a shoot in the moon. It's just really and truly, if you don't understand how it works, you can't have it. It doesn't stay with you. It doesn't matter how much you make. It goes out the door because you don't understand. Money has no feeling. It's not good or bad. It just is. It's the thing you get for the thing you give. That's it. And so you have to discipline yourself to understand work. I mean, you don't have to love it. You don't have to hate it. You just have to work with it like anything else. And so because I told no one, I think it's just last month I told my mom about it. Because when I turned 18, I was very depressed. I was very sad. I didn't know it was probably a part of depression, but very sad. That was number two. That's another set of interruption of my flows, I call it. I was very sad. I was so sad. This is me here, being so sad. And this is me pulling to be happy, back in my happy place. But I was so sad. And I was very sad at 18 because when I get to the bank, I never had any money. When I get to the bank, I never had any money. I lost it all. Somebody stole the whole thing. I had $148 in my account. I would visit the bank 2-3 times a week. My mom used to say, why you keep going to the bank? I had never told her. I was so embarrassed inside. I went to the bank manager. I went to the district bank manager for all the banks. Mm-hmm. And everybody kept telling me I was a liar. I finally had a teacher, my principal by then. And she said, I can remember. And what they did to me was, because I was a teenager, they took the money. Somebody stole the money out of the bank, of course. And she no longer worked there. All the people who surrounded that time frame no longer was there. No evidence. Myself, and I had probably had the most with myself and about 3 other young ladies had money in this compound interest kind of saving. And I think on the 3rd day I came out to the bank and I was just crying. And this lady came to me. She said, I know you. You're not going to get the money. She's the one who told me how many other people it happened to. She said, I know you. You're not going to give it to you. You have no case. You could fight it if you want. I never did. I lost over $100 and something $1,000 of hard-earned money.
$100 and something $1,000.
Wow.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my mind. Okay, it wasn't $148. It was over $100 and something $1,000. And these people took the money.
Uninsured. No FDIC, huh?
I didn't know anything beyond I'm going to make the money. It compounds. This is how much you get. That was my knowledge.
But you did the right things by putting it in the bank where it is supposed to compound interest, and it was doing that. But then somebody absconded with it and decided they were going to take it. Embezzled it, pretty much. And there was no recourse.
And this is why we have the FDIC.
Can't do those things anymore to people. Can't do those anything. But when it happened, I was devastated, as I said. I kept going back to the bank. For some reason, like my brain couldn't wrap around that. It could leave. Like this wasn't a possibility. So I would just go to the bank. I would just go into the bank. And eventually I closed the account. But I never even closed the account right away. I couldn't wrap my mind around this possibility that after all of this and doing this with the money, here I am now, ready to do something great, but it's not there. And I have no way of doing anything about it. So for a couple of months, I just lagged around my mom's house. I wasn't doing anything. I read a lot. That's about it. I read a lot. And I did get a little snappish. And she said to me, Karen, you need to get a job because you can't just hang around and do nothing. And she did get me a job. I think I lasted 2 weeks in the job.
She's like, I don't know. Not doing this.
I was so restless. And I lasted 2 weeks into the job. And the job paid me $80 for the 2 weeks. And I took the $80 and started my furniture business because I knew that was the way to make money. Business. So I started my furniture business and it took off really, not fast, but really at a good pace. Because I wanted to sell just one thing before I add anything else on it. So I wanted one item. And it started off slowly.
And that was what? Tell us the item again.
It's plantain chips.
Oh, like the plantain chips. Got it.
Yes.
Chips.
Yeah, plantain chips. I hear those are very good. I'm going to have to try some.
Yeah, plantain chips. So I started doing plantain chips. And I had 2 drugstores that said yes to me. I would pester them and they said yes. But they'd only take like a dozen packs a week. And I didn't sure what to do with myself because this is $24 and not even $24 when you give them at a wholesale price, right? It was just netting me probably about $18 or something like that for both stores. But they said unless people buy them, they wouldn't take any more. But they weren't. I went and checked them twice for the week, and they weren't putting it where people can see them. So I went in and confronted them. I said, if you can't take any more because nobody knows they're there. And they had quite a few people in the drugstore today. And I said, did you guys know this drugstore sells plantain chips? And everybody said, no. And would you buy if you knew? Everybody said, yes. I'm like, then there, buy it back. And they were sold out in 5-10 minutes. So he said to me, you can bring 2 dozens starting this week. So I went home. I brought him 2 dozens. I went to the other drugstore. I saw the same thing. I confronted the man. I got them to take 2 dozen each. But that still wasn't enough because that couldn't sustain. And anywho, I went to a couple other stores. I got a lot of no's. And I finally commissioned my sister. I said, I need to do the work, but I need a sales rep. And I'm willing to pay you. That's the same sister I raised. And she said yes. And she said yes. And she did do a good job. She got me 2 stores that they took like 2 months, but they stopped. They never continued. And then she landed me into the biggest account I could imagine at the time. She went into a place and she was telling the gentleman about our product. He looked at it and he looked up and he said, are you Lisa? And she said, yes. Is your sister Karen? She said, yes. He said, my God, this is a small word. Your sister was such a vital part of my daughter being in school that I don't care what she's selling. I'm buying. And she came home and she told me, he said he wanted 200 packs. And I'm like, what? I was freaking out by that, and he bought 100 packs. And he wanted to meet me to make sure. And I went in and meet him and he said, listen, I want to take 200 packs of plantain chips from you 7 days a week. Not once a week, 7 days a week. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I said my eyes light up. I was happy, but I was freaking out because I didn't have the capital to do 200 a day, And as I was leaving, I turned back and I said to him, would you mind putting a down payment for the first couple of orders? He goes, certainly. He tells his secretary, he said, write our check for whatever she tells you. And I said to him, I can't change a check. I need cash. He says, okay. Give her whatever cash she told you. and write her a slip so that when she come back to be paid, we'll discount it. And I went out and I started looking for a market so I can buy wholesale. Because all this time I would just buy a little pound here, pound there. I started buying now by the bunch. And oil by the gallons and stuff like that. And really and truly just took my mom's kitchen and turned it into a factory.
Yeah.
In terms of making the planet chips, and go from there. And I was doing really well. I tell you, when you're doing well, you got to keep your eye on price. You got to keep your eyes on the price. Because this had happened to me in the back. Because I was so afraid, I kept all my money at home. And I lost it all again. Lots of it. To become an installer. Family. Installer.
Mm-hmm.
I mention these stuff because I want you to know, if when you're down or you're up, things still happen to you. It happened to us. No matter what stage you're at, it happens to you. Life happens, but you can't stay there. You have to still trust and trust in the Heavenly Father that His lessons He's teaching. Because, when I did open a bank account again, of course I had to, I learned to ask different questions. I learned to find out what would happen if this happened. Mm-hmm. Who would I go to? Who do I talk to? Which is the best place to put it? And start educating myself on terms of what happened in the bank versus just drop my money and go. So if you're not sure, I know online you could go and find out anything, but make an appointment with your bank manager. Have a chat with him or her. Talk to them about the tools they have, the things that would work best for you. A financial planner is great, but go into your bank and find out what they have. Go in and talk to them. Go and learn whatever you need to learn, because we're in business to make money, but we don't want to only be in business to do the physical making of the money. We want to get to some point where the money is working for us.
Yes.
Part of business journey, because you can have a job for years and not do much, but you can have a business for a shorter space of time if you structure the business well and make more money. But it wouldn't be good for you if you didn't give the money a job to do. And compound interest is the simplest job. You could buy mutual funds, you can invest in real estate, you could do all of that. But compound interest allows you to put the money and have it work for you because you've done the first part. So don't spend it all, because then you're doing yourself a disservice. And because most of us, self-included, and I claim that I had to get rid of that feeling. If I wasn't physically doing, it was hard for me to make money without physically doing. Cleaning, cooking, baking, sewing, cutting, hairing, whatever. And most of us on the hustle grind, that's why some people don't like the word, that's what we do for our income, and that's okay. But we have to also shift and move into the, I am a hairdresser and I make $60,000, a year if that was my goal. But do I need to live off of $60,000, or could I live off of $30,000 or $35,000? And if my answer is yes, then I better have that. That's why I need my bank manager, because there's always these specials that happen in the bank when you walk in at this here that sometimes not even promoted online or anywhere else. It's just a walk-in thing. Like how you have the walk-in store sale, bank have them too. Where, if you place $20,000 with them, they're gonna lend you money and get money on it anyway. They might have this deal where you make $500 a month. Let's say $500 a month, 512 is $6,000 for the year on your money, and your principal's still there. There's another risk I'm talking about. This is you having a 20,000, 20, 50, whatever thousand, and you're making a 500. No, you were never gonna get the 500, so don't go spend it. Add it at the end of the year so that can multiply itself. One of the biggest goals is working. People said, nobody want to be a billionaire because who cares about being a millionaire? Well, it's important to be a millionaire first before you be a billionaire. And the reason you want to be a millionaire is that if you decide that you don't want to do the physical work, your $1 million can give you money every month to live off of. And you can still turn back and save from it. So that's why you want to be in that place. That's your important factor. I don't know if millionaires talk about that, but that's one of the first reasons you fight to be a millionaire. Don't take $1 million and go buy a car for $100,000, because then you're not a millionaire anymore. Secure up and above the million so that the million can look after you. And you can still keep working to buy the car, the house, or whatever you want, because you're allowing that money to work for you versus you physically, mentally, emotionally working for it. Because those are the three things that have us working. Emotions.
Wow. This has been an exceptional session today. And so if you are just tuning in, we encourage you to go back and listen to the replay and listen to it throughout, take some notes, and hear the life lessons that you probably will never, ever hear on a regular money class. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. This is a phenomenal woman who's done phenomenal things against a lot of odds. A lot of people would have given up in the same odds, would have quit. So this is Caren's story today on the Hustle Chronicles. And Caren, I posted it over on your page as well. And every time you come on, I'll just make sure that we share into your page, because this needs to be talked about. It needs to be shared, and it needs to be known. And so take this. Don't take it for granted. You never know, like Terry always says, you never know who you have in your midst that can speak into you, that can help you make a change. And Coach Caren is that person. If you really want to get your money straight, if you really want to get your mind right for your money, then you need to reach out and get some help. Because she'll talk to you about why you really do the things you do, even though you don't know why you do the things you do. So we want to thank you for tuning in. You could have been somewhere else, whether you're listening live or by replay. Thank you. We will be back tomorrow talking health and wellness. And then Friday, we're talking tech. But this has been outstanding. Reach out to Caren, ask her questions. I'm sure she'll, over on her page, the Hustle, the Island Girl Hustle, go over there, check it out. Follow Coach Caren and reach out and share this message with someone. It will definitely help someone, as it has helped me and everybody else who's going to listen to this. So with that in mind, I want to say thank you so much. And Terry, any final words?
I just want to say, don't forget to go to the front of your own line. And thank you, Coach, for being so open and sharing with us today.
Yes. All right. We'll see you next time for another Hustle Chronicle.